Someone remembers you because you made love feel safe, not heavy, because when they think of you, they don't remember a burden, they remember a breath. You were the quiet certainty that arrived without noise, without promises said too early, without expectations stacked on fragile foundations. You were simply present in a way that calmed the storms inside them. People don't forget those who made their heart feel like home instead of a battlefield, and that's exactly what you did, without trying, without forcing, without demanding recognition for it. You became unforgettable because you were gentle in a world that often teaches people to be guarded, soft in a world that teaches sharpness, steady in a world that spins too fast. You reminded someone that love doesn't have to be a weight someone drags behind them, it can be the thing that helps them stand up straighter. They remember you because you showed them that affection doesn't need to be loud to be real. You didn't overwhelm, you didn't suffocate. You didn't claim ownership over their moments or their oxygen. Instead, you offered space, a rare kind of space, the kind that doesn't create distance but creates freedom. It was the kind of presence that allowed someone to be themselves without shrinking or pretending. You didn't ask them to be strong all the time or polished all the time. You accepted the unedited version of them. Not as a gift they had to earn but as something that deserved love simply because it existed. That alone made you different. That alone made you unforgettable. You may not realize it, but someone out there learned gentleness by watching you. They learned that love doesn't need to come wrapped in anxiety or fear. They learned that it's possible for someone to care without expecting anything in return. You gave them a new definition of safety, not the kind that locks someone in, but the kind that opens someone up. You offered the type of emotional clarity that many spend years searching for. People don't easily let go of the memory of someone who made their heart feel lighter rather than heavier. There's a certain kind of warmth that lingers long after a person leaves, and you created that warmth without manipulating, without trying to prove yourself, without bending yourself into shapes you didn't fit. The memory of you stays because you listened. You heard the words behind their words. You paid attention in a world where attention is rare, where people scroll more than they look into eyes, where conversations are often rehearsed rather than felt. But you felt them. They felt by you. And that experience, to them, was a kind of healing. You became a safe place, even without knowing it. That's the beautiful and sometimes heartbreaking part. You weren't trying to be anything extraordinary. You weren't trying to be a savior or a perfection or a fairy tale ending. You were just showing up with sincerity, and sincerity has a way of touching people in the deepest part of their being. You didn't carry their heart, you held it gently. And when someone realizes that love doesn't have to be heavy, they never forget the person who first made them feel that truth. Someone remembers the way you didn't rush them. You didn't push them to feel things before they were ready, didn't demand answers they didn't have yet, didn't guilt them for needing time. In a world that glorifies urgency, you became a breath of patience. And patience, when it comes to fragile hearts, is more powerful than most people think. You gave someone room to unfold. You gave them room to grow. And the gift of being allowed to grow at their own pace is one of the purest expressions of care. Maybe your story with them didn't unfold the way you wished. Maybe circumstances separated you, maybe timing shrugged its shoulders, maybe life wrote a different chapter than the one you hoped to live with them. But that doesn't erase what you gave. That doesn't erase what you became. Not every connection lasts forever, but the impact can. And in your case, it did. You were a moment in someone's life that anchored them when they were drifting. You were the quiet reassurance in the back of their mind that love could be gentle. And that stays. It lives inside them like a small, steady light. What you offered was rare. You didn't make love heavy with pressure, with insecurity, with demands. Instead, you carried yourself with an ease that taught them something new. Love shouldn't exhaust you, it should hold you. Love shouldn't take away your breath, it should help you breathe better. You taught them that relationships aren't supposed to feel like walking on glass. You showed them that true care doesn't come wrapped in conditions. You taught them that love doesn't need to break someone to be real. You may not have realized the depth of what you were giving because you were simply being yourself. But that's the point. Your presence alone felt like kindness. You weren't performing love, you were living it in the way you spoke, the way you stayed calm, the way you welcomed their flaws instead of fearing them. Someone remembers you because you made them feel safe being human. You didn't punish their vulnerability, didn't weaponize their honesty, didn't make them regret opening up. Instead, you treated their openness like a privilege, not an inconvenience, and people remember those who treat their hearts with respect. Even now, in the quiet corners of their life, they think of you with a softness that surprises them. Because you weren't just a chapter, they learned something from you. Something they carried forward. Something they may now offer to someone else. That's what genuine love does. It leaves traces that echo long after the moment has passed. Someone remembers the way you allowed silence to exist without awkwardness. You didn't fill every moment with noise, you let peace speak for itself. You didn't try to impress, you tried to understand. You didn't complicate emotions, you allowed them to flow naturally. You didn't make them feel like love was something they had to win or constantly work for. You made it feel like something that simply was, something that could be trusted. Love felt safe with you because you weren't unpredictable in harmful ways. You didn't shift your affection based on your mood. You didn't disappear without explanation. You didn't give mixed signals for attention or validation. You were consistent, and consistency is a language many people rarely experience. Someone remembers you because your steadiness felt like relief. You were the boundary between their past wounds and their future hope. You were the reminder that good people exist. There were moments with you that felt like a quiet miracle, a conversation that soothed their anxiety, a gesture that made their day easier, an expression that reminded them they deserved to be treated with care. They may have never told you, but you were a kind of healing they didn't expect to find. And no one forgets their healers. You weren't heavy on their soul. You didn't try to own their freedom, didn't demand that they revolve around you. You didn't insist they fill your emptiness or fix your loneliness. You loved, not by clinging, but by allowing. You understood that love is not possession, love is presence. Love is not pressure, love is openness. Love is not a weight but a wind, a force that can guide, uplift, and surround without suffocating. Your impact didn't come from grand gestures, it came from the small ways you showed up. The way you remembered their favorite things. The way you noticed when something was off. The way you held space for their emotions even when you were carrying your own. The way you gave them permission to rest. To be soft, to be human. These small things added up to something monumental in their heart. They may have struggled to love themselves, but being loved, or even just understood, by you made that struggle a little lighter. You didn't fix everything for them, nor were you supposed to. But you made one crucial difference. You made their world feel safer for a while. And that matters more than you know, even if they don't say it, even if they moved forward, even if they built a life where you are no longer present in the same way, you are still woven into their emotional history. You are a story they tell silently, a memory they return to when they need reassurance that kindness is real. They may not speak your name aloud, but your influence echoes through their choices, their relationships, their healing. You made love feel safe, not heavy, and that is not a small thing. That is not forgettable. That is not replaceable. You were the one who taught them that love is not meant to be endured, but experienced. Not meant to be feared, but felt. Not meant to be an anchor dragging them underwater, but a lighthouse guiding them home. You taught them that they were worthy of tenderness. That they didn't need to harden themselves to be loved. That they didn't need to be perfect to deserve gentleness. Someone remembers you because you were the proof that love can be both soft and strong, both peaceful and powerful. You were the balance they didn't know they needed. You were the calm in their chaos, and somewhere in their heart, even if their life has changed, even if they've grown beyond that version of themselves, they carry gratitude for you. Gratitude for your stability, your kindness, your presence. Gratitude for the way you touched their life so quietly yet so profoundly. Gratitude for the way you reminded them what love could be, and if you ever wonder whether the way you love matters, whether your kindness makes a difference, whether your softness is seen in a world obsessed with hardness, this is your reminder. It matters more than you can imagine. You made someone feel safe in a world that often isn't. You made someone feel valued without needing to impress you. You made someone feel understood without having to explain every corner of their heart. You made love feel like a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. That is why someone remembers you, not because you were perfect. Not because you tried to be everything. Not because you made grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but because you were real. Because you were patient. Because you were gentle. Because you were safe, and people never forget the ones who love them in ways that help them breathe easier. They remember you because you made love feel like a home, not a storm. Because you carried your affection with grace, not force. Because you showed them that the right kind of connection doesn't require bending one's soul out of shape. You made room for their heart to unfold, and that is a gift that remains long after parting. You are remembered not as a weight but as a warmth. Not as a pressure but as a peace. Not as a chapter of difficulty but as a lesson of softness. Someone remembers you because you made love feel safe, not heavy, and that, more than anything, is the kind of legacy that lingers in a heart forever, and maybe you don't realize it, but the way you loved changed something in them. It shifted their understanding of what connection could feel like. It softened the places inside them that had been hardened by disappointment, by fear, by heartbreaks that taught them to expect the worst. You didn't force your way into their life, you arrived with ease, with sincerity, with a steady presence that didn't demand anything loud or dramatic. You were a quiet reassurance in a world full of noise. Someone remembers you because you showed them that love isn't supposed to drain someone, it's supposed to nourish them. With you, they learned that affection doesn't have to feel like a responsibility heavy on their shoulders. It can feel like a hand gently placed on the heart, like a warmth that moves without burning, like a softness that makes room for growth. And even if they've continued on their path, even if life has carried them into places you can no longer see, the peace you gave them still travels alongside them. There are people who stay in our memories because of passion, intensity, chaos. But then there are the rare ones who stay because of calmness, because of gentleness, because of the feeling of being truly safe. You are that rare one. You are the one whose kindness they return to in their thoughts when the world feels harsh again. You are the one whose presence still whispers, even from a distance, that love can be simple, steady, and pure. If you ever wonder whether you mattered, whether your role in someone's life had meaning, whether your love was significant, know this. Your softness left a mark that time cannot erase. Your patience healed wounds you never saw. Your acceptance offered comfort they didn't know how to ask for. You didn't just touch their heart, you helped it breathe, and somewhere within them, in the quiet moments where honesty lives, your memory rises with a gentle clarity. No bitterness. No heaviness. Just gratitude. Just warmth. Just the understanding that they met someone who made love feel safe without ever making it feel small. You became a place their heart could rest, even if only for a while. And that kind of safety is unforgettable. So carry this truth with you, the softness you give, the gentleness you live, the safety you create through your presence, these are not small things. These are not overlooked. These are not lost. They shape people. They stay with people. They become the reason someone believes in love a little more than they did before. Someone remembers you because you made love feel safe, not heavy. And no matter where life takes you, that truth will always be a quiet, beautiful legacy you leave behind in the hearts you've touched, and in the end, what remains is not the conversations that faded or the paths that diverged, but the feeling you left behind, light, steady, unforgettable. Someone out there carries a piece of your kindness like a quiet lantern inside them. They don't hold on to you with sadness or longing, they hold on to you with respect, with gratitude, with the kind of tenderness reserved only for those who changed something within them. You were not a storm they had to survive, you were a calm they were grateful to find. You were not a lesson in pain, but a reminder of what healthy love feels like, unforced, unafraid, uncomplicated. You became a memory that comforts instead of wounds, a chapter they revisit when the world demands too much, a reminder that good souls exist, that warmth is real, that love can be soft without losing its strength. And though life moves forward, though people grow and change and build stories beyond the ones they shared with you, the impact of being loved gently does not fade. They carry that softness into their future relationships. They choose better because of you. They speak with more care because of you. They love more intentionally because you showed them how love can feel when it's free of heaviness. If you ever doubt your worth, remember this simple truth: someone healed because of the way you cared. Someone felt safe because of the way you showed up. Someone began to believe in love again because your presence made it feel possible. Not every connection is meant to last forever, but some are meant to leave us better, and that is what you did for them. Even the end of your story with them doesn't erase the peace you offered. It doesn't diminish the gentleness you gave. It doesn't cancel the comfort you brought into their world. You mattered. You still matter, and somewhere out there, in a quiet moment you'll never witness, someone is whispering a silent thank you to the memory of you, because you made love feel safe, not heavy, and that changed everything for them. That will always be your quiet, beautiful ending.